It's where we go from here. How are you affected by this loss? I'm disappointed for you. I'm disappointed that we couldn't come out and seize the opportunity. I would hope that anybody that's in this locker room that wants to be part of this team is moved by this day, that this never happens again. But you know what you have to do. That's all I have to say.
Head coach Brian Kelly talking to his team in the locker room after Notre Dame's frustrating 24-22 loss on the road at Clemson. Welcome, Irish fans, to this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Football with Brian Kelly. I'm Jack Nolan. The loss at Clemson was very hard to take for this Irish football team and for Irish fans, because on a night when Notre Dame made numerous uncharacteristic mistakes, the team showed remarkable poise down the stretch and nearly forced the game into overtime after trailing 21-3 early in the fourth quarter. After the game, Coach Kelly was blunt in his assessment of the outcome of the game to the media.
We're not here for moral victories. You know, we're too far along in our program. We got to come down here and we have to beat Clemson. And you can't beat Clemson turning the ball over 4 times and starting tentative on defense.
Coming up on Inside Notre Dame Football.
We realize that, you know, we're real good, and like we got to put in that much more time in the film room and off, and it's just going to show up that much more because we're going to continue to get better.
Oklahoma up into a 9-man line. Quick pitch out to Reynolds, and Lynch is over for the touchdown. Lynch is over.
They're a tough team to defend. Outstanding quarterback, well coached.
Inside Notre Dame Football with Brian Kelly is presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Sprint, Coke Zero, Under Armour, and Gatorade. Inside Notre Dame Football is also sponsored by Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Bank of America, Cadillac, Canon, Xfinity, Meyer, Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, Sirius XM Satellite Radio, and UPS.
Well, Kaiser gives a fake and loops it down wide open. Is Procise on the sidelines, stays in bounds and scores.
One thing that really jumped out at me, beginning in the first quarter and throughout the game, is that your quarterback, making his first start on the road, displayed amazing poise.
Yeah, great poise, great pocket presence. You know, just has the it factor where he can go in there and has a real good sense of the offense and the surroundings, because it's a difficult place to play. He definitely you know, added a coat of paint, if you will, to his development and did a very, very fine job.
I know you said leading into the game, I think everybody who follows Notre Dame expected your offensive line to play well. You were averaging 285 rushing yards a game, but you had trouble running the ball against Clemson. What did the video show?
Well, it showed man-to-man coverage and an extra safety down, which made the numbers unfair for us to really sustain anything in the running game. So it forced us to really go back to more of a, you know, a passing game and pick our spots at running the football. We got to throw the ball a little bit more. Unfortunately, we had some, you know, drops and had a hard time holding on to the football at times, but our kids kept battling. You know, we got ourselves back in the game.
Every game prior to this, your defense had forced a 3-and-out on the first possession of the opposition. Obviously, that didn't happen, but after those 2 drives, 48 yards on 17 plays the rest of the half, 207 yards and 10 points the rest of the game.
You know, when you go on the road, your defense has to play well. They didn't get off to a good start, but after that poor first start, they played well enough for us to win the football game. And then offensively, you know, finding ourselves with a freshman quarterback, not catching the ball the way we normally catch it, we still find ourselves in a position to win the game.
And you defer when you win the toss to the second half just for that, to allow for maybe some adjustment period in the first half so you get the ball to start the second half. And that's probably the toughest turnover.
No question. I mean, to turn it over on consecutive plays, by the way, because we turn it over again on the first running play of our first series in the third quarter. Now our defense holds again. That was obviously the most difficult part of the third quarter, and our defense came up big for us, and then we were able to get some momentum going offensively.
Kaiser loops it for the end zone. Touchdown! Torrey Hunter Jr. with 7 seconds to play. The Irish are a 2-point conversion away from overtime.
So you're down 21-3 on the road early in the third quarter. It's pouring rain. Fans are screaming. And another really great comeback effort by your team, beginning with the 56-yard touchdown pass to C.J. Process.
You know, we had been working on this play where we fake it to CJ and he keeps going out of the backfield on a wheel route, and Deshaun threw a beautiful pass to him up the sideline. And again, that's what CJ can do for you. If you can't get it on the ground, he's going to get it in the air, and we got him the football, and it was a big touchdown for us.
I've seen your 2-point conversion chart. A lot of effort goes into being prepared for these kinds of situations. So explain why in that situation you decided to go for 2.
Well, when you're down 12, the mathematics on it are to go for 2. Now, you don't necessarily have to go for 2. You don't know what the circumstances are later in the game. Obviously, if you have hindsight, you don't go for 2, but you don't know what the circumstances are. So the mathematics in that situation are to get it to a 10-point game. So you only need a touchdown and a field goal. So I don't chase the points, meaning I don't use the chart until the fourth quarter. So I rely on the chart in the fourth quarter. It says to go for 2. We went for 2, and unfortunately we didn't make a play. But you know, that's something that's a pretty easy decision to make when we get to the fourth quarter.
Now, Clemson answers with a field goal, but you come back then with another touchdown drive. The big play was a big pass to Chris Brown.
We did a really good job of bringing a couple of receivers to set up a traffic jam for Chris. Chris was able to get through that jam, and Deshaun threw a great ball to him, and Chris was able to get a big gain for us into Clemson territory.
And then Kaiser scores on a nice run.
Yeah, it was. It was actually the same play as our 2-point conversion, and did a nice job turning it up inside and finding the end zone, and putting us in a really good position.
Again, what you've got to like about your team is they never stop battling, and you put together a terrific drive in the final minute to almost force it into overtime.
Yeah, we get the ball all the way down to the 3-yard line, and we turn it over, but our defense comes up big. I think we got about 1.5 minutes left. C.J. Procise out of the backfield, brings it all the way down, and then hit a great fade route to Torrey Hunter. And now we got to go for 2. We knew that they were going to play the pass, so they were in their what we call bracket coverage. So we had a great look to run the same play that we had run for a touchdown earlier. Got to give Clemson credit on the big key play that they needed to make. They were better on that play than we were.
One of Brian Kelly's first goals when he became the head football coach at Notre Dame was to make the Fighting Irish football team faster. To that end, Kelly and his staff recruited Chris Brown, the 2011 Gatorade Track and Field Performer of the Year in South Carolina, who also happened to be one of the top high school receivers in the nation. Since setting foot on campus, Brown has worked hard to add top-notch route running to his top-notch speed. More than a third of the way through his senior season, Brown is not only having a breakout year as Notre Dame's second leading receiver, he has also become the off and on-field leader of the deep and talented Irish receiving corps.
Here's a throw to the end zone, touchdown Notre Dame. Play fake up the middle, and they throw to Chris Brown.
What we liked about Chris, one, he really wanted to be at Notre Dame. Single parent mom, loved the home environment. We thought it was a great fit from there, and then thought that he brought that first element of raw speed that we wanted at that position, and then we knew that we were going to have to develop him along the way. He's just been a great personality, a great leader in the program, and has developed his skills through hard work. He's a hard-working kid, to the point now where if you ask who that leader is of the wide receiver corps, it is Chris Brown.
Man, you got one. I dropped your third down ball over here. That's on me. Hey, we even though. We even. Clean slate next week, baby. Hey, UMass. I'm trying to get a TD.
Snap. Kaiser looks. Lobs the ball. Touchdown! Notre Dame to Chris Brown. near side end zone.
Chris, you've already broken your single season touchdown record. What's working?
Just being in the right place at the right time. Just being a target for the quarterbacks.
A beautifully thrown ball, arced into Chris Brown, a half step on the defender.
The Starsky to your Hutch, Will Fuller, on the other side, always seems to be making a ton of plays, but personality-wise, we don't get to see a whole lot of it.
We had a moment on the sideline, I guess this past game. We realized that, you know, we're real good, and like we got to put in that much more time in the film room and off, and it's just going to show up that much more because we're going to continue to get better. And it was nice seeing it, hearing that from him. I mean, I was a sophomore when he was a freshman, and he was even quieter then. He's extremely confident, and he continues to just grow every single time he gets out there.
Down the field, the receivers blocking their guys throughout the play, and results have come from that. Has that been something that you guys have really emphasized coming into this year?
Coach Denbrook always tells us, don't let your guy get to the pile. If we're blocking guys up and taking hits off the running back, just like they do in protection for us, that's our contribution to the run game, and just letting our backs have free lanes, and they're so explosive that, I mean, if they get it to the second level, they're gonna take it all the way. All we have to do is just get in the way.
It turns a 20-yard run into an 80-yard run. Does CJ ever thank you for that?
I make sure to mention it to him a couple times, point it out on film.
What would be the dream scenario? Let's say even if you played 5-10 years in the NFL, post that, what would be the dream job for you?
I definitely want to find like a mentorship for kids in maybe the 7th and 8th grade transition, because I feel like that's where a lot of kids go astray. There were guys that were just as talented as I was, maybe even more talented, but I feel like they didn't have the right, guidance to, direct them, to be able to come to a university like Notre Dame.
That'd be awesome. Appreciate the time, man.
Thank you.
Yep.
What's it feel like to be a Notre Dame captain?
Humbling, the greatest honor of my entire life.
One thing the public would be surprised to learn about you.
I was one of the leads in my senior musical. I had a couple solo numbers.
What is your favorite spot at Notre Dame?
The grotto, the lake's right behind it.
Thoughts on the plans for a video board inside Notre Dame Stadium?
That's awesome.
The program training led by Marines.
One of the more fun things I've ever done.
Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell.
An idol of mine.
Player on the team most like you.
Greer Martini.
Hardest hitter on the team.
Jarrett Grace.
Toughest player to tackle on the team.
CJ Procise.
Best singer on the team.
Hunter Biven.
Best dancer on the team.
Matthias Farley.
Best comedian on the team.
I don't know.
Best dresser on the team.
Matthias Farley.
Best thing about playing for Notre Dame.
The teammates.
Joe Schmidt, you have completed 60 seconds on Inside Notre Dame Football.
Thank you, Jack.
This year's Notre Dame home football tickets each honors a great moment in Notre Dame football history. One of those moments occurred 58 years ago when an unranked Notre Dame team traveled to Norman, Oklahoma to take on a Sooners team that had won a still NCAA record 47 games in a row. Here's a look at one of the greatest upset wins in Notre Dame football history.
Scoring, there's the gun ending the ball game, and there is the upset of the year, ladies and gentlemen.
This was not the ending that Oklahoma, or the 60,000 spectators at Owen Field, expected to see on a late November Saturday in 1957. Oklahoma was coming off back-to-back national championships and seemed destined to become the first college football program to claim 3 consecutive national titles. The Sooners had not lost for a record-setting 47 consecutive games. Notre Dame was attempting to rebound from the worst season in school history. The Irish finished 2-8 in 1956. One of those 8 setbacks, a 40-0 drubbing by Oklahoma in Notre Dame Stadium. There was no sign that Oklahoma should even be wary of the Irish coming into the contest. Predictions had the Sooners winning by at least 21 points, and Notre Dame was coming off back-to-back losses before climbing aboard the team bus bound for Norman, Oklahoma.
Sooners are unbeaten in 47 straight games, and Oklahoma features a scoring streak of 123 consecutive contests, both of which are all-time collegiate marks.
Notre Dame survived 3 straight scoring opportunities from Oklahoma early in the game, but missed out on its own scoring chance in the second quarter, when the Sooners stuffed the Irish 4 straight times inside the 5-yard line. The game then shifted into a defensive stalemate and remained scoreless until early in the 4th quarter, when the Irish would put together a long gut-check drive. Running backs Dick Lynch and Nick Pietrasante would do most of the damage during the drive, attacking the Sooner defensive front with a variety of running plays. Lynch's barreling run put the Irish at the doorstep of the Sooner end zone, but the Oklahoma defense rose up yet again to force 4th down.
4th down goal to go on the 3-yard line of Oklahoma. Oklahoma up into a 9-man line. Quick pitch out to Reynolds, and Lynch is over for the touchdown. Dick Lynch is over for the touchdown, running wide to his right on a quick toss. Notre Dame scores.
But the Sooners would get one more drive and one more opportunity to extend their winning streak.
Watts at quarterback, rolling out to the right, looking for a receiver. Rush throws, and it's batted down. Oh no, it's caught by Oklahoma. Here comes back to throw. The quarterback throwing is intercepted by Williams, tackled and down in the end zone by Prentice Scott. It's here. Notre Dame has won 7-0. And a wild, jubilant Notre Dame team goes on the field.
The Irish had shocked the college football world, ending Oklahoma's NCAA Division I record streak of 47 games without a loss. The team bus was welcomed back to campus by a jubilant student body, celebrating another improbable victory by the Fighting Irish in one of the greatest moments in Notre Dame football history.
It's time now for the experts at TireRack.com question of the week for Coach Kelly. This week's question comes from John Christ of Bluefield, Virginia. Coach, when preparing for a big road game, what is the most difficult aspect of your week of preparation?
First of all, when you're playing, at a place like Clemson, the noise is a factor. We certainly didn't expect to have the weather be such a factor, because there's only so much you can do to prepare for a downpour. But I think it's probably making sure that your schedule is tight and make sure that you're handling the crowd noise. Those are the most important things on the road.
Next up for the Irish, another long week of preparation for another good triple option team. Undefeated Navy will bring the nation's #3 rushing attack to Notre Dame Stadium for the renewal of the longest uninterrupted intersectional rivalry in the country.
They're a tough team to defend. Outstanding quarterback, well coached. They're undefeated. They might even be nationally ranked. If they're not, they should be. So this will be a great challenge.
Coach Kelly and I will break down the Navy game on next week's show. Until then, thanks for watching, and as always, go Irish.
Inside Notre Dame Football with Brian Kelly is presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Sprint, Coke Zero, Under Armour, and Gatorade. Inside Notre Dame Football is also sponsored by Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Bank of America, Cadillac, Canon, Xfinity, Meyer, Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, Sirius XM Satellite Radio, and UPS.